We are so close to the draft. It's Monday night before the draft. Dang, we are very excited for this draft in Cleveland. And we've been counting it down week by week, talking Browns mock draft, the top positions, defensive end, cornerback, linebacker, wide receiver. And now it's time to actually figure out, of all those positions, all the players that we talked about, that I said we should talk about, and Drew said we should talk about somebody else. Who are the top 5 prospects for the Browns? Who do we think are the top 5 people that we would like to see? Most likely that the Browns are going to pick them. Let's start it off. We're going to count it down here. We'll start at 5. Eric, can you start us off?
Well, I'm going to take the wideout from Minnesota, Rashad Bateman, as my 5th option. I think he's an all-around talent. He's got the size and speed that could potentially translate to a number 1 target on the outside. That's exactly who would like to fill the void of one of the 2 LSU receivers, should they not have a long time within this team for many years. He played on Minnesota's team with a not great quarterback, so now would potentially play with a great quarterback. So I think he could thrive in this offense. You want to ask him to do too much, but at least in 2021. But him and DPJ could be a good tandem going forward.
Drew, who are you thinking at the 5th?
Yeah, so for me, number 5 is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, partly because of his excellent nickname. I'm not talking JOK, I'm talking Woo! But also partly because the Cleveland Browns have some decent talent at linebacker. They actually do. I like Jacob Phillips. I like Anthony Walker. I think that is a fine linebacker tandem to start in their 4-2-5 defense, but they do not have any sort of legitimate star. They do not have a real difference maker. And I think that he could add some just next level type speed, aggressiveness. He can cover anybody, which they have been sorely lacking out of that position since essentially, since Clay Matthews. So that would be my pick at number 5. I don't love linebacker in the first round, but I think he's a special talent that could even play safety if you needed him to.
I'm going to go Rashad Bateman. I think the Browns are going to draft by need. And even though there's a lot of great wide receivers in this draft, I think they're going to look at the defensive side of the ball. And I'll get into it more as we move up the draft board. Eric, number 4, who you got?
I'm going to take an edge guy, and Azeez Ojulari. The big issue is his undersize and what he can do on a defense, but he's shown an ability to rush the quarterback at a high level. And he's also done a great job of getting tackles for losses and showing up in the run game. So, what do you want to do with him? Do you want to bulk him up and see if they can keep him at defensive end, or you want to keep him a little smaller, work a little outside, try to fix him in an outside linebacker in some spots and defensive end in others? Nonetheless, he's a playmaker, and I would be very happy with him. So that'd be my 4th selection.
Drew?
I have Azeez Ojulari as well. It's actually the same guy, same spot on the board here. Takk McKinley and Jadeveon Clowney, they're on 1-year deals. They're not going to be around super long term. I'd like to have one of them back, but I have a hard time even seeing that. So I think the team needs to find a legitimate sort of long term answer to play opposite Miles. Depth is also a really big problem. After those top 3 guys, there's not an NFL player on the roster, in my opinion. So I think they need to do something there. And I really like Azeez Ojulari. He's one of my top available rushers that might be there at pick 26.
It's nice to have this depth phrase being thrown around. Oh, we're building depth at this position. Building depth. That's where I'm going at with 4. I think we're building depth at the cornerback position. Asante Samuel Jr. going with the bloodlines there. His dad, former NFL player. I'm going to go with Asante. Stack up the cornerbacks. We have injuries that go on at that position. I'd like to have someone else to back up maybe one of our starters. So let's go on to number 3. Eric, you're next.
Well, I'm sticking with the edge rusher position, and despite being from that team up north, I'm going to take Kwity Paye.
Did you steal my notes? Did you steal my notes before this segment?
It's always works to go first. But Andrew Barry has shown an ability to at least take some talented guys from that school. We've taken guys who have been having talent and hasn't translated. So I think it could work 2 years in a row. Kind of like Ojulari, not only a good pass rusher, but he's also very good against the run. Double digits tackle for losses in his last full season in 2019. 271 pounds, big guy, and he could learn from the trio of Miles, Tack, and Clowney. And again, kind of like Bateman, where he wouldn't be asked to do a tremendous amount in 2021, but you could force him in with all those one-year deals where he could hopefully be a starter in 2022. And like to see what kind of defensive front packages they could have with him. And so he's my third pick.
Drew,
He's mine
same
too.
person.
He's made me the same reasons. I feel like a big chump right now. He's over here stealing my notes and giving everybody the exact same order. No, he's everything Azeez Ojulari is. He's just happens to do it at 20 to 25 pounds heavier with that same sort of ability to rush the passer. He can't quite bend around the edge as well as Ojulari, but he has an incredible bull rush and he can still turn the corner really well. So. Kwity Paye is my number 3 as well.
I'm going to stick at cornerback. I'm going with Greg Newsome out of Northwestern, building depth there. I've got him above Asante Samuel Jr. I think we had a good conversation talking about Greg Newsome, like the fit with the Browns. I'm going to go with Greg Newsome at 3. We're getting to the tip top here. Some of the guys that we are going to have sweaty palms if they're still available at 26. Eric, who do you have at number 2?
Well, you're passing the baton to me. I'm going to take Greg Newsome II at number 2. Yeah, I mean, kind of what we had said a couple weeks ago. Greedy Williams' status, still up in the air. Denzel Ward, I'd love to see him play every game this year, but he hasn't historically. So you're going to need another guy on the outside. He's tall, he's physical, and he's versatile. I think it would be a great idea to have him opposite a number 2 wideout. That you could take, in the top 20s. His stats aren't necessarily there for the interceptions or passes defended, but I think when you put him in a strong secondary like we have in the NFL, I think those numbers are going to come. So, Greg Newsome, I think is going to be going to do pretty well in the NFL, and I'd be very, very happy if the Browns took him.
Drew?
Yeah, sort of the same theme. We all see outside cornerback as a one of the potential Achilles heels of the Browns right now. Greedy Williams has played in 12 of a possible 32 games. Denzel Ward has played in 36 out of a possible 48 regular season games. The next man up is MJ Stewart or Robert Jackson. There's a big issue, I believe, at outside cornerback beyond those first two, and they're going to get hurt at some point. So I'm going to take another injury-prone cornerback, and that's Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. We chatted a little bit about him in the cornerback video. This is before some of the medicals came back, and people had some questions on that. And all of the mocks that I have seen over the last maybe 2 weeks or so, Caleb Farley has sort of slid down the boards into that late teens, early 20s round. So I think it's possible that he's still on the board, and I would love for the Browns to make that happen.
All right, I'm going to go Azeez Ojulari. Love the addition of Jadeveon Clowney. Don't like the loss of Sheldon Richardson. He isn't back yet. What is going on here? But we'll add a little bit more depth to the defensive line, even though it's at the edge position. Let's pick up Ojulari at number 2. All right, let's go to our number 1 pick for the Browns. Best case scenario. Eric, who you got?
Well, our defense doesn't have that Swiss Army knife, that guy who could do it all. And we haven't had a tremendous playmaker probably since, like you said, maybe Clay Matthews. And I'm going to take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. It might be a bit early, but I think he could help this defense in a myriad of ways. He's listed as a linebacker. He's able to cover, and I have no doubt about that. He and Jacob Phillips will be there in passing situations. And if you need him in run, maybe you can walk him back to somewhat of a safety role and have Walker, kind of stay in there in the linebacker position. I think he's a talent who could be on the field every down that, running a 4-2-5 defense, you're going to have some rotational guys. I think he could be a guy who would be in there every play. He can make hits, he can cover, and most importantly, he's got a swagger and attitude that this defense has lacked for years and years and years. And I'm hoping his infectiousness, his behavior, his mentality will rub off on this defense.
Love it. Drew, who you got? You already had JOK lower. You have somebody different.
I do. I have somebody different. I do. So it's the number one choice here, right? So, things have to be sort of unexpected almost for your number one option to hit. Some people have to make some strange picks ahead of you. My number one choice is J.C. Horn, the cornerback from South Carolina. I do not expect him to be there. He's actually now, from what I'm seeing, he's in the conversation to be the first defensive player taken for the Dallas Cowboys. They might even pick him ahead of Patrick Surtain, but this is the guy that I really want. This is the guy I'm going to be sad when he goes somewhere else. But if we're talking about pie in the sky, best case scenario, I don't know what happens above you type of a thing, I would like to see J.C. Horn. I think he would be perfect opposite Denzel Ward. And I think this defense could be amongst the league's best if they could find a way to get a true shutdown cornerback opposite Denzel Ward. So that's my pie in the sky scenario. It will not happen on draft day. Don't be too sad when he goes elsewhere. But that's the name that you can start thinking of. If he gets past Dallas and it gets down into those mid to late teens, I think you start allowing yourself to think maybe the Browns go up and get this guy.
Okay. Well, in years past, I have had some big arguments with Eric on who we drafted. I think I was a Johnny Manziel fan in the past, but I'm on the same page with Eric this year. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I like the linebacker pickup. Add an impact player there. Round out all of these defensive acquisitions, adding to the linebacker position. I like JOK, and that's my top pick. I think I'd be happy going away with that, but there's a lot of awesome options that we've talked about, especially on the defensive side of the ball.